Into the Breach is excited to be teaming up with Nine Line Apparel, a veteran-owned apparel company that celebrates the spirit of freedom, courage, and American values. Go check out ninelineapparel.com for freedom-loving patriotic gear perfect for your family members, first responders, veterans, and active duty service members. When you're done selecting the amazing merchandise and apparel Nine Line has to offer, punch in the code ITB20, that's India Tango Bravo 20, for a 20% discount off your next purchase at ninelineapparel.com. Vet TV is a streaming service created by veterans for veterans, with over 30 different series to choose from, including our new series Battle Lab that features special operations soldiers going head-to-head with the newest tactics and threats on the modern battlefield. Into the Breach listeners have an exclusive discount of paying $1 a month for the first 2 months of subscription with the code BREACH. So head on over to Vet TV and type in BREACH at checkout to receive this incredible offer for your Vet TV subscription. Thank you for listening, and now back to the show.
All right, back. I'm happy. I'm looking forward to every time we do this, Nick.
Yeah,
we're back at it. I'm still debating. We're in week 3 here, or technically week 2, of Breaching with the Boys. Still trying to work on that title. We had a really cool thumbnail of like us being serious, and then the one before that was like us goofing around. Yeah. So we're still testing those thumbnails out. But yeah, we're back. Now we're on week 3 or something with Breaching with the Boys.
Technically week 3.
Yeah, technically week 3, and I look forward to this.
Same here, dude.
Yeah, it makes me happy. Nick Laidlaw, Nicholas laid the law. I'm pumped. This is awesome. We got a bunch of stuff to go through today for this week. I mean, you could do daily shows for the amount of the stuff that's going on in the world.
We could, yeah.
We were discussing this before we decided to start doing weekly, and then the world wasn't slow at the time, but there's news. And then when we start, it's like, well, I guess we can wait a day. There'll be a whole nother news cycle of this stuff going on in Iran and the leadership, flipping over, and the investigation into the bombing of the girls' school. So right now, happy 0311 day, Marine Corps Infantry Day, 0311, Infantry Month. So you're an 11, correct? Or
I'm an 11.
All right, yeah, you're an 11. Mm-hmm. That's what I thought. So happy Marine Corps Infantryman Day, and then tomorrow's my birthday, so this will go up tomorrow morning on my birthday. So it's a good month.
Best day of the year is March 11th. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's the best month of the year. March is awesome.
Yeah, Infantry Month.
Infantry Month. Yep. All right, sweet. So we're gonna hop right into it. Things are taking off in Iran. Well, we're on day 11 of the war, I believe.
Yep. Yeah.
And a day 11. And I think a lot of things have been happening. One of the big topics that I know we wanted to discuss and talk about was the girls' school bombing. That's kind of the hot topic right now. I think it's more of a black eye on the operation that still hasn't quite been settled. I think there's a lot of speculation. A lot of when people don't say things, you might be like, oh, that's probably a tell that it might have been the U.S., but what's your thoughts on that?
So I think the president's explanation on TV, I think it was yesterday or maybe the day before of that, it was an Iranian Tomahawk that hit the girls' school. That sounds too Russian of an answer to me.
Yeah.
It's too convenient. I think what happened was, because that school I think was adjacent to a military barracks.
Yes, it was. Yes.
I think what happened is we did strike it after the fact. We're like, oh, shit. And everyone in a position of power is just kind of refraining from saying, yes, we did this. Because that does give a lot of firepower to the opposition in our own government and overseas of like, hey, look what these guys are doing, sort of thing. This war is not justified, blah, blah, blah. To me, I think this will be something that we come out and say, like 5 years from now, like, yes, this was us, sort of thing. And even in a low key way too, where it's just like someone in the former administration is on like the Sean Ryan podcast or something, and it's like, yeah, that was us. I don't know if it was us or the Israelis. I don't know Israel's capability of whether or not they have Tomahawks. But I don't buy that it was in an Iranian one.
No,
at all.
I agree. In fact, here, let me. I have it pulled up right here, and I will share the video screen right here we'll play the video of the Tomahawk hitting. This is from, I believe, OSINT Defender. Mm-hmm. Or no, News Noise. Sorry, this is a different one, but here. This will play again. Does kind of look like a Tomahawk. Play it one more time for the audience. I don't know. I mean, to be honest, in my opinion, it does look like a Tomahawk. The death toll, to be completely honest with you, knowing JDAMs, knowing structures in the Middle East, I don't think the death toll is as high as everyone thinks it is. So whether or not it's U.S., it does look like a Tomahawk. But, like I said, I agree with you. The tell is we're investigating. They know the answer. And I agree with you. I think it's going to be an investigation that takes a year or something after the midterms, and it could be, and it could be a different type of missile that the Iranians do have, we
don't know for sure.
Right now. And the other thing too, I think what brings this up is that it could be both sides, it could be Iranian, not ruling that out. Everything's leaning to looking like Tomahawks, but there's two things, in my opinion, that I believe are at play. One, if you remember after, October 7th and during the war,
the hospital.
The hospital.
You and I had a conversation that night because I saw it burning from where I was.
And I said that wasn't a JDAM. They go, oh, the Israelis bombed the hospital with a 500,000 pound, 2,000 pound bomb. Granted, obviously those had different blast radius, but either one of those would have a devastating effect. One, right away you look at it, it's spread across the world. The Israelis bombed the hospital and killed 300 people. I saw it on Breaking Points. I saw it on, I always hate to say it, the liberal news or the news media, whatever. And immediately I looked at it and I said, one, it didn't hit the hospital. Two, it hit the parking lot. Three, that definitely wasn't a JDAM because a JDAM would leave a crater and there's only a burn spot and one of the vehicles is on fire. That was it. It took, but in that same case though, it took with maybe 24 to 48 hours to debunk that. Now granted, Gaza and the IDF, and Israelis had internet and cell service, so everyone could post everything about it right away. Iranians don't have cell service and don't have internet. Like Iran has done a very good job of shutting everything down. So we're not getting a ton of footage out of there, but I get why the administration is defensive about this type of stuff is because of that. That's an incident, a thing that was used against the Israelis. And come to find out, it was Hamas that launched a rocket. They did find a video of it shooting from one area directly at that hospital. So it wasn't the Israelis. It wasn't a JDAM. It didn't kill anybody. Didn't even hit the hospital. And it was Hamas's rocket. This, I think, and then when you apply this to this, it's a sad thing, the Iranian Girls School. If it was a Tomahawk and it was one of ours, I don't think the death toll is 175, as they say. Because if you saw that impact, it looked like it didn't even explode. It looked like it hit, and then it shoots. If it did explode, it shot upwards. It didn't level the building. Now, I don't have a shit ton of experience with Tomahawks, but knowing at least 500-pound JDAMs, what kind of damage they do to schools or in buildings, and obviously the way buildings are made over in Syria and in the Middle East or in Arab countries, they're built pretty strong. So it's like, ironically, I think people talk about, they're built pretty strong. These are made out of concrete. It's not Western made type of buildings. So, it's just one of those things where I don't think, and I looked, I wish I had the screenshot. I don't think I do. I'll see if I have it. I did a bunch of screenshots like yesterday. But Nick bailed on me because he had a haircut, so we had to put it today. I was screenshotting stuff, but I don't think I screenshotted that one. But they were saying that they're looking at the casualties are a lot less. In fact, almost like 100 less. Is it tragic? Yes. It's still bad? Yes. But it's not 175. And honestly, to look at that munition, I don't think that munition did 175 kills worth of damage. To be completely
not unless
honest
they're all like sheltering in the same gymnasium.
And even then, it's exactly. You're right. If they were in the gymnasium all together and whatever,
landed right in the middle of them.
Exactly. And again, it could have. I mean, war, crazy things happen in war. But I think it might be a Tomahawk. Ours, the death, it's tragic, it's terrible. It's probably ours, but, don't know yet. But I think that it's not as, it's still devastating, but it's not it's not as bad as it looks. And then on top of that, like, I get why the administration's hesitant. They just want to slow it down because, look, the operation and a military, standpoint strategically, it's very successful. I mean, we talked about this earlier. Mm-hmm. There's a reason why we spent 1.5, was it trillion?
Yeah.
What was it? What would we?
It was 1.5 trillion is the new one, I think.
Yeah, they wanted to put it to an extra $500 billion, and then why we spent $1 trillion on defense or whatever it is, or 800 billion. Like, we're seeing it at work right now, and Iran is absolutely getting shellacked. I mean, yeah, so we can go into that too, but that's my opinion. I don't know if you have any more thoughts on that.
Have you seen that chart of like the outbound missiles and drones from Iran from day one to now?
Yes, I did. Yes.
Straight down.
Yep. I gotta start screenshotting this stuff. I save it to my Instagram and it doesn't save.
Yeah,
so
for next week's stuff, I'm just gonna save everything I've got and send it all to you.
Yeah. It is. I saw that same report too. It's like goes like 500 to like 124 to like 80, and then just like 24. It's they've absolutely went through their arsenal, and I think that's something that's it's unprecedented.
If not the arsenal, the launchers themselves.
Yeah.
Because I remember I was watching a video Preston Stewart put out the other day, and he said that they're going for the archers, not the arrow, because that's what Ukraine needs to be successful for their air defense, is to knock out the missile launchers and the missile sites, rather than the arrow coming at them, which makes sense, and I agree. And we can see that in play here. There's tons of videos of Iranian missile launchers just being knocked out by drones and aircraft and stuff like that. It's crazy.
It is. It's pretty wild too to see the amount of interceptions, but things are getting through. I think we talked about it last time. My frustration with sadly the 8th U.S. service member has died yesterday.
Yeah.
So we're up to 8. It does frustrate me a little bit that one got through. You know what I mean?
And I think
shit happens, but it frustrates me.
I read something today that it's at 140 wounded, but 105 are already back in service.
Yeah.
I think the Pentagon made a statement that there's 140, a company's worth of dudes who got wounded, which kind of shocked me.
Yeah. Well, you think about it though. I mean, it's one of those missiles hits shrapnel. It's and they're just launching them at everybody. But then again, they're launching them into Bahrain. It's crazy watching Iran unite the Arab countries with Israel and the Jews. It's a pretty wild time to be alive.
That was not on my bingo card for 2026.
Yep. I wish I had that meme. It was Gimli and the elf or whatever.
I never thought I'd die side by side with a Jew.
Yeah. He's like, how about a friend? Yeah.
Hi.
And the memes have been fire. The memes are always fire.
The memes are the only good thing to come out of war.
Yep.
In the last 4 years.
Yeah. And there's memes on that too. It's when they're doing their dissertation in 2050 on the 2020s, and it's all about memes.
One of you can probably put this up after you edit, but one of my favorite memes is that little kid from Dennis the Menace, the one whose eyes are crossed and he's got that bowl cut, that dumb look on his face, and it's when you leave your dugout to take a shit and you see 5 guys in leaf suits jump into your trench wearing GoPros.
Yeah.
And he's just
yeah.
It's so funny.
There's here, I grab Rage Intel up. Here it is. Yeah. I think like I said, I do agree with you. I think it's hilarious. The memes are just, they're amazing. I think I know guys do meme reviews. We'll have to do meme reviews of the Iranian war.
Dude, I'll take lead on that. I'll collect all the memes. Because you've seen my Instagram. I just share memes all day on my story. That's
same. Yeah.
Half of what it is.
Dude, Venezuela, the U.S. winning gold, and then Iran is just bangers left and right. We'll have Joe on next week, and we'll drag him into it. We'll do a meme review with him after he seriously talks about Iran and everything, and is way more intelligent than us at this. But and then on top of that, things are moving here in Iran, they did elect. Man, the news cycle is moving so fast here.
Right?
Yeah. Here, let me. I'll pull up this right here. Share this with you. Yeah, this is real. As Rage Intel, go follow them. Phenomenal. OSINT Defender, RageX, go check all those guys out. They're phenomenal. Yes, it's not AI, not a joke. Iran's newly appointed supreme leader, Mojtaba Khomeini, couldn't turn up, so they pulled out the cardboard cutout of him instead, which is wild.
The memes write themselves, dude.
You can't. It's so. It's sometimes it's crazy that people are in charge of a world power, you know,
Yeah.
or was considered a major player in the game, you know. But then again, I think Trump. Am I right? Did you see that Trump had a portrait that he showed of this guy? He had a portrait of him, or is that AI? And I totally got spoofed.
I think maybe AI.
Okay, I
I'm
probably
not
got
sure.
spoofed then.
My
Yeah,
favorite AI video to come out of this is the Barron Trump one of he's the new Ayatollah.
oh yeah.
I put it on Instagram.
Yep. That's a good one. But so that guy, his name is Machab. Wow, Jesus, Mataba. He's like the third guy that they've tried to put up front, but apparently the Israelis blew his leg off yesterday. So they hit him with an airstrike already. So he's not dead, but apparently his leg is blown
That's
off.
one of the interesting things too, is because like one of the points of the revolution was to stop like the transition of power from father to son in like a monarchy, and then here we are.
Yeah. Well, they from what I heard from when I was listening today, I think it was today, is that he won. He's impotent. That's one reason why Israelis had intel on him, and because he was seeing doctors and stuff like that. Two, apparently his Khomeini, it's his son, didn't want him to take over. Apparently he wrote it in his will that he didn't want him to take over. The country's trying to appoint him as the new leader, and then he just got hit and his leg got blown off. So they got to confirm whether or not he's alive, or they confirm he's alive, but he's got his leg blown off. So I don't know how well this is going to work. He's not going to be alive in the next 48 hours. So
He won't see the end of the war.
no, he
sure.
will not. No. And I think this is where we can discuss this too. In my opinion, strategically, I do think, I appreciate Israel because I'm all for this. Like I'm all about a good regime change and good guys winning over bad guys, however you want to spin it. But I do think, Israel's now telling the people as of yesterday, hacking their systems and their TVs to saying, hey, they're giving them the green light to stand up. That's like, if the Israelis are telling you to get to the streets and stand up, that means that there's some key points in play. There's either players in play, but like say Mossad agents, say weaponry, say whatever to help assist with quote unquote a revolution. Because that's you still have to step back and like look, a still significant portion of this country is very supportive of the IRGC.
Yeah.
They just are. Like, so your population is divided. So it's not like, oh, yeah, we got them. And everyone's like, yeah, dude, we were just playing along the whole time. Some are, but there's still hardliners. And there's guys, a lot of the hardliners have taken to schools. They've, to try to avoid being bombed. A lot aren't showing up for work. A lot of intel's coming out about that. And one of the other
women.
Yeah, dressing like women. That's one of them. They've been dressing like women to go to work, to and from. I think the internet it's shocking that that's not up and running. So I'm wondering, we're at day 11 of the war, sorry. And, I imagine Starlinks are getting brought in, trying to get the internet up and running. They're doing a hell of a job blacking everything out, which is actually pretty surprising to me.
I remember, so Iran has to be the most, Mossad infiltrated country in the world. So,
yes, yeah.
When I think of, Mossad at work, it's definitely Iran. And I'm just wondering what's next for them. Like what is Mossad gonna do next in the country? And I wonder how that's going to play into all those Kurdish fighters who are supposedly en route. And then I saw on Instagram a couple days ago that there was some guy who put in like an order at like a Toyota dealership for like 700 trucks or something like that. I don't
50.
know if that- 50?
There's
Okay.
it was 50
Okay.
Toyota.
So I
You
saw
put
the
in-
meme version of the actual.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
it was true. There was a guy that put in for 50. Kurdish man put in for 50 Toyota Tacomas, and like obviously we all know what's going on. Let's
just-
not let's.
It's just business.
Yeah. It's just business, baby. Yeah, I love the Toyota had they have like an attachment for the Tacomas that it was like it raises. It's like a dump truck that can raise on the Tacoma, and everyone's like, we know exactly what this is built for, and it sure as shit ain't for dirt to get poured off the back of this. And everyone then cuts to took that same Tacoma model with like rockets that
Yeah.
can then go up and down, like basically like a mini HIMARS.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
That's
but,
funny.
Yeah, but no, it's dude, they're wiping out they're wiping out the entire leadership, and things are changing. I think again with Preston, we gotta have Preston on because Preston will just run the show. We draw everything for Preston Stewart and a bunch of other guys. They do all the homework for us. But he was saying too that the objectives have kind of changed. Or kind of changed, I guess. Essentially, they went from like one of the objectives was replacing the regime or a friendly regime back to, hey, destroy their nuclear capabilities, wipe out their missiles and like their navy. That's like so it went from like 4 to 3. So I guess that's why people are confused on what that fourth objective that they had the day prior. And at the end of the day, I agree with the administration. They're like, hey, we don't want to keep coming back after 5 years to keep doing this. And I agree. And they're in day 11. I mean, day 11. And now everybody's, I don't, again, from the first outset when we talked, I think there's enough people in the cabinet that they do not want to be in this for more than a month or two.
I don't.
I don't. And I think a lot of the administration doesn't either. I mean, that's not good for Trump to be there at like week 8, still bombing. Like, you're going to have to either hand over and just be like, hey, don't, get your pee-pee slapped and wiping out all your munitions and just walk away. And then the IRGC comes back into like a weaker power. Or you have to kind of fully commit and say, hey, Mossad, IDF, do your thing, put boots on the ground. Maybe some of our guys, I think they said, some tier 1 dudes to go and secure uranium, which would make sense. Like, that makes sense to me. But the 82nd Airborne or the 101st, or even like, hey, as much as I love my Marines, like the Marines should not be on ground. Like special force, special forces, go for it. Rangers, I don't even want Rangers on the ground. I want SF, and then tier 1 dudes doing hits, and that's it. That's the extent of anything of our ground commitment. Now, if we do that, which I could see happening, the press is going to have
The longer it goes on, the more likely I see that being the case.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree.
Just like, all right, we got to wrap this up and get out of here before this just looks awful. Because
also, though, I think Israel, though, I think you got to give Israel its due. I think they are very involved because this is a threat to them. This isn't a threat to us. I mean, it is and it's not. Like, obviously, jihadis having a nuclear weapon is a threat to the whole world, but this is for a regional thing. This is much bigger threat to Israel. Mm-hmm. So I think Israel's commitment to this is, and it should be, I don't say it's their issue, but it should be their issue to handle the ground game. Like
that's my train of thought. Like, I don't want Americans dying in Iran.
Yeah, same.
Specifically because like the lead up to this felt like so sudden. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's not like Iran was being like aggressive, like kidnapping people off of like oil tankers or something like that, or making threats to like activate sleeper cells in Florida or whatever. I'm sure there's allegations of that and stuff will come out later, but for the most part, this just feels like us just helping Israel.
Yeah.
You know, which
I mean, and that's another debate too. And I guess I'm getting lost in the weeds of who said what back and forth.
it's
I mean, I don't think Israel's like, we're going to go and we want, you know, I think we wanted
I
to do
was
this.
listening to that
you
earlier
know?
too about like how they're like we're doing it with or without you, and so Trump kind of had his hand forced into going. And then again, like a lot of this at the moment is just speculation. You know, it's like
Well,
thinking about like the first 2 weeks of the war in Ukraine and what we thought we knew for sure back then, and then now, and it's like, oh, we were way off. Like we know so much more about how this started. I think it'll be the same thing in Iran, where it's like even 2 months from now, we're like, oh, okay, like this was what's up, and this is what happened.
I think, and you know, there's also theories. I think people are, you know, the online commentators are, you know, here we are commentating about, but like the online commentators, you know, are like, oh, they're riding the high off of Venezuela, and they're getting hubris, and I'm like, this is not a Venezuela, you know. I look, you can, yeah, we might be riding a high off of that, but to be like, oh, that was good to go, Iran's going to be a cakewalk. No one was in that room that was like, oh yeah, this is gonna, oh yeah, Iran or Venezuela went great. Oh, Iran should be a cakewalk. No one in that room. I with the GWAT veterans in there, with the people like JD Vance and Hegseth, these guys are intelligent and they don't want to be in another, for, you know, I won't say forever war, but forever wars. They don't want another Iraq or Afghanistan debacle.
Because Iran would fight forever. Like, do you know much about the Iran-Iraq war?
Oh, it was 10 years. Yeah. It was insane.
I think someone is going to correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I think it might be one of the bloodiest wars since World War II. I know there were like hundreds of thousands of casualties in that war. And it's like, their culture hasn't changed a lot since then. I don't think they're going to be very opposed to fighting in the trenches again.
And we'll have Joe talk about this next week, and he'll dive. I want him to do a deep dive, so we'll just sit here and like listen to him talk. But he did bring up some points of like the different ethnic groups. Iran they're national, but they have a national identity. So the hope there is that something could be done. You know, I think a monarch, or, you know, they're not going to get democracy, but I would say a monarch that is, you know, people bitch about the Shah back in the day, you know, when they're like, oh, we overthrew their election in 1953, you know, but capitalism and Western values are much better than Marxism and communism. And we saw how that played out, you know, in every country that we fought in the Cold War. It worked out for Iran for over 20 years. Yeah, the Shah imprisoned political prisoners, was not good, but the life that they led was 1,000 times better. And guess what? The Islamists, the extremists, came in under the guise of Marxism, under the middle class, educated, and said, we can make this better. And what happened? It plunged it into the dark ages for 50 years.
Yeah.
And Iranians have been able to move in and out of the country, and they have been able to get asylums, and they have, you know what I mean? So it's not lost to them that this is an generational opportunity to take it back. And who cares if it's another monarch that persecutes communists and all this other, you know, or that type of aspect. I mean, that's the entire Arab countries, the UAEs, they all do that. They all have monarchs, or they all have, you know, I mean, Saudi.
I think the Iranians should choose.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm all for them taking back their country themselves and figuring it out how they want it to be. I don't really see it being like a Syria situation where it just delves into like endless civil war DLC, you know?
No, I don't think so either. Again, because I think that their population is just more national than Syria.
Yeah, they've got like you were saying, they've got like a national identity. Even similar to us, you know, it's like 10,000 different cultures and groups in the United States, but like most people can like hopefully proudly like identify as like Americans.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. And I you know, I think, and I'm with you. I hope they choose, but at the same point, like, we have to force the hand too. Like, we're not going to stay there for the next. We did the dirty work, you know. And I think that's where, you know, and part of me, like I said, I get a little bit chills over it. I think part of it too for the administration is that Trump gave a red line, and they crossed the red line. And sometimes I think it's as simple as that. You shoot the protesters, we're coming in. They murdered the protesters. We wiped out their entire cabinet. We wiped out all their, you know, I think we wanted to do something, and that was a good reason to do it, but it's also a good precedent to set, as in, look, these people want their country back anyways. Like, let's rock and roll. And those protests were not a joke. I mean, they were significant. A significant amount of people were murdered.
Yeah.
And the red line was drawn in the sand, and they crossed it, and they found out.
They're the most significant protests ever in Iran.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so they found out. And I think sometimes I think it might be as simple as that, man. You know, I think people want to, Israel's involved. Obviously, Israel's involved, but it's like they pushed them, the conspiracy, all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. It's like, you know, at the end of the day, you know, Obama drew the line with Syria, chemical weapons. What did Assad do? Use chemical weapons on people. Mm-hmm. What did he do? Nothing. You know, Biden, what did Biden do with, you know, the Russians in Ukraine? Nothing. They invaded, nothing happened. You know, and I think it's just one of those things where it's like, you know, and look, I'm all about it. Like, you know, if there's going to be a world power that's going to be on top of the world, it's going to be it's right now everyone's lucky it's the U.S. You know, like we're still the last bastion of freedom, the last beacon of hope. You know, everyone can talk shit in the comments all you want, but go anywhere else, there's nowhere like this. There's not. I mean, we are the last stand. Like our tech companies are the ones are holding up free speech across the world. You know what I mean? Like that's it. It's gone. Like if we fall, it's all over. It's a free for all. You know, it's dictatorships and God knows what else. You know, but I think it is one of those things of like, I honestly I appreciate it. You know, kind of part of me is like, yeah, we told you not to kill the protesters. We used our entire fleet to wipe you out. You know, so I think that had a big factor. Or Trump doesn't like to be called out, and I think that's just kind of what happened. And
he does have an ego.
He has an ego, and I think that was probably maybe like 50% of the decision. Yeah. You know, like they're like, you know, we're thinking about it. There's these protests.
What? Fuck you.
Exactly. You know what? Yeah, let's do it. And he did it. Like, dude, you know how much money and time and planning it takes to execute all this. And they did it for weeks, man. I mean, you remember the lead up, you know, like
that's
like,
why I think like like part like in hindsight now, like Venezuela kind of makes more sense as to why it happened then, is to stabilize like global oil trade, anticipation of this, because and now it's like I don't know if like peace was ever an option for Iran.
Yeah.
You know, where like
which is a funny statement.
This was always the outcome, you know, like because I know there were like peace talks where like we had conditions they had to meet, which of course they turned down. But I think it was just like that was always going to be the outcome, especially once I started seeing all the men and material we were moving over there. I'm like, that costs a lot of money. Like this is not just some posturing where you're moving like a fifth of our navy into Iran's backyard. You know?
And was that after the protests, after the shootings too? Well, my timelines are starting to get like
it's so because this is so much has happened in like I think that was during I don't know. Someone will tell us in the comments, but I'm thinking it was during the protests.
I remember.
Yeah, I remember like reading about protests as I was making memes about Maduro.
Okay.
So,
and then
I only would have been making memes about Maduro after the fact.
Yeah. Well, there was also like because Trump said, help is on the way.
Yeah, and I was wondering like, what is taking so long? You know, because I thought like stuff had already been pre-prepared. You know, like I remember doing like a poll on B&B and like roughly 40% of people thought the regime would fall during the protests, which is like the most I've ever had in that type of poll. I remember like some reporting coming out about the leadership of Iran, like having concrete plans made to like flee to Russia and stuff like that. So who knows? I don't know.
Yeah.
But I my personal opinion is I think like peace for Iran was never an option.
An option. Well, the protests helped too.
Yeah.
You know. So, and then speaking of that, I mean, you brought this up, and it's a good segue. The Iranian proxies, all the shit that happened in New York with the two jihadis throwing the IED at
Jake Lang.
Jake Lang. I don't know anything about. Again, I learned everything in the blink of an eye of what was going on.
So just to get this out here, I really dislike Jake Lang. I think he's a political agitator. I think he's a grifter and will do and say anything to get attention. He's also a pedophile. He got caught trying to meet up with a 15-year-old. So anyone who's still Team Jake Lang, to the wood chipper with you, my opinion. But that GoPro screenshot of that dude like talking about like immigration, and then that guy is just throwing an ID over his head.
Oh my
It's
God.
like the most like that's the picture of irony. Right there. But yeah, my opinion, Jake Lang does nothing to like actually push forward like conservative views that people care about. It's all just grifting and growing a following for him. Is my opinion.
And
I can't stand him. Like
I
can't stand the guy.
I didn't know anything about him, so that's why I'm like, I just thought it was, and again, where you're getting your sources from, it's like I think he might have been here in Minnesota.
He was.
So he was the one
here.
that
He tried to have
an
He's also a white supremacist, like sort of. I'm not entirely sure, but like I get the vibes of that just from like his speech and like the rhetoric that comes off of him. But he came to like do a protest in Minneapolis.
Yes.
And then he ended up getting saved by some of the protest, like the counter protest against him.
Yeah. And because they were beating the crap out of him. And
they were like squirting him with like squirt guns and throwing water balloons at him. And
well, they got into a fight. Like they were fighting, like literally beating him up. And I think which I don't agree with him by any means, but the cops weren't doing anything. And that's where a lot of people, conservatives get upset because they're like, are you kidding me right now? If a mob of Republicans or conservatives went up and started beating the crap out of like some liberal commentator, dude, the cops would be all over you. Two, it'd be all over the news. It wasn't really in the news. It was kind of in the news. I think he was trying to, I don't know, they tried framing it as an anti-Muslim thing. I don't know because I sometimes I take it for a grain of salt to what people are writing. And apparently that's what he was trying to do in New York. But again, I don't know I don't even know much about him.
Follow him at all. Everything I know about Jake comes against my will.
I like that. That's a good phrase. Everything I know
about Taylor Swift is against my own will. But yeah, he was in New York to protest Islam. And that's all I know. And then the two guys who like tried to throw IEDs at him were like just 18 years old. They were like
18 and 19.
Yeah, 18 and 19, and they were radicalized online by ISIS propaganda.
One of them, parents owned a $2.5 million home and were Afghan refugees from like decades ago. And so you're just like, I wonder what was the views of that family? What mosque did they go to? You know what I mean? Like all these questions come up, man.
Yeah.
Like, look, like it's the old adage, like I think I fought alongside Muslims, saved Muslims' lives, like all the above. Not every Muslim is a terrorist, but most terrorists are Muslims. Like, I mean, like that's just the way it is. Like if you have two guys that are radicalized, what's their mosque doing? And then what's their, what I'm saying?
Their
like
families,
their families are doing.
I mean, it's all worth being investigated.
Oh, 100%. And also, by the way, they acted on it. They threw two IEDs, and both of them did not go off.
Thank God.
Thank God. And because I mean, you could be looking at maimed and dead, and they yelled "Allah Akbar." I mean, you can't. It's like, what season of the USA is this? Like, this is so on the nose. Like, this is the worst screenwriting that you could have in a series, and it's playing out in reality. I think that's what's frustrating. But I get people's frustration though, because when it comes to Islam and stuff like that, like it's everyone wants to whitewash it. Well, and again, it comes from the college educated, very hard left mindset of like, well, they're a minority, therefore they can do no wrong.
They're good.
They are good.
They can't do any wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, and everyone's like,
much
this
more
is
nuanced than that.
Yes, exactly.
Like, and that's the thing people I think fail to recognize is nuance in anything.
Yeah.
Like my just like simple terms, like my opinion on immigration, you need to be vetted to come in here. I'm a legal immigrant to the United States. I came here from South Africa. It took me 16 years to get citizenship. It was incredibly hard, I will say, and it cost a lot of money. like our immigration system, I think, is moderately broken. It needs to be more accessible, but the vetting still needs to be there. I don't think like open borders should be a thing. Just oh yeah, come on in if you can get here, like welcome. I'm good.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree.
Well, you need to be vetted, and you need to do it properly.
Exactly, I agree with you. 100%. And by that's been the debate for years of like it just needs to be improved, you know. But this whole open borders thing is insane and it's wild. And most people don't want it, and it always, you know, and like look, maybe it's just our flow of information, the descent of the American, you know, populace against politicians is it's like as much as, you know, it's a lot of people don't like them. Like even Republicans don't like their representatives, you know, when in Democrats, by the way, I kind of feel bad for Democrats slightly, is because a lot of the main issues of the Democratic Party, they poll Democrats themselves and they're like, we don't want these issues, but they don't vote Republican because they're not going to vote Republican, you know? You know, I think I think the SAVE Act is one of them, the voter ID. 80% of Democrats agree with this. 90% of Republicans agree with it. Democrats won't budge an inch because it's just divided along party lines, and it's like, you know, it's the best system that's out there, but it's a broken system nowadays. In the last, you know, I think just with information technology, everything's moved so much quicker that, you know, this is a whole other discussion about Western civilization and the U.S. and where does it go from here, and how does it survive? What are the years going on? Because, you know, once I thought, you know, when, you know, Donald Trump lost 2020, I was like, you know what, maybe we'll return to normal a little bit. Maybe
that's what I thought too.
You know, I thought that. I was like, you know what, it was a fun ride. You know, it's your ex-girlfriend. You know, it's kind of like the chick you hang out with. You kind of hook up with. It was a fun time, but you don't get married. You don't. You know, it's just like, you know, it was good for both of us. It's time to split ways. And it didn't. The rhetoric got even more polarized. So I feel like we're stuck in I think things changed too much.
I think we're in like a weird fever dream of American politics. Because like when I think of my life, not much has changed. You know, like I live in a part of the country where it's no matter who's president, like not much changes here. But when I think of like politics and like national cohesion and unity, it's insane. And I don't think we'll ever get back to that feeling of normal, if that makes sense. Especially after like these last like 10 years. Like,
yeah, I agree.
I don't think we're ever gonna go back, because it's just you elect one pretty extreme, and then as a reaction, there's gonna be another extreme to come in to counter that, you know, and it's just gonna be a ping pong until we end up with a king or an emperor or something.
Yeah.
50 years from now.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree. It's just one of those things where and I tell people this. I was like, you should have been alive for the 2010s, man. It was
great.
Awesome. It was so good. Like, no, people don't realize how good we have it. My wife's a little too young to know that. I was like, you don't understand how good we had it. Like, seriously, good.
When I started noticing a change in our country was when Trayvon Martin got shot.
Yes, that's
like when like I started like seeing like crazy divides in people. You know, that to me is when like life started changing.
Yep. And I think they come up with a study with this. I'd like to actually read the book on this. But there's a study that came out, and they pin it to 2012, which was Trayvon Martin was like in, I think that was like in, oh man, when was that? That was like in July or September or something like that, when that all happened, I think. And 2012 is when the hardcore like social justice rhetoric it's like it's not, you know, everyone's like it's an op, it was planned. I think the culture just runs with it, but the uptick of the white privilege, the social justice, the reparations, the all Black Lives Matter, all that stuff took off, and like you can look at papers and they see like all these keywords shoot up by like 3,000%.
Yeah.
And it really is. And in that, I agree with you. I lived through all those years, man. And 2012 was I agree with you. It's kind of the start of it. And then you start seeing it, in 2013, and because you had the Ferguson riots, and then and all this is under Obama. And then it really starts ramping up around 2015. I think college campuses start getting really wonky.
Yeah, that's I remember I read an article about how milk was racist. And I was like,
yes.
Oh,
yeah, it was like
I really want to get out of the Marine Corps.
The crazies were in college and they hadn't hit the workforce yet.
Yeah.
And then they hit the workforce, and then 2015, 16, and then I always say 16 is the catalyst. Trump winning is the split of two different timelines in the U.S. Two different realities. 100% 2016. Like it didn't matter. It's like, and that's just that. And now we're going on year 10, and there's going to be 12 years, and then it doesn't matter, if whoever wins the next one, it doesn't change. So I'm wondering, but I think you kind of have not to talk Democrats, Republicans, but you do have the Republicans that are overwhelmingly very pro-U.S. and Democrats are kind of like, we like the U.S., but we think it's terrible. Like the extremist part is very down on that. And it's just like everything else in life. Like if you're negative about something, you probably live in a pretty shitty life. Like psychologically, that's not healthy for you. That's not good for you. It's better to lift weights and go for a run and hang out with your friends, whether they're Democrat or Republican, because you're going to live a better life. Like it's healthier.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I think most people fall somewhere in the middle.
Same. Yeah, I agree.
Like I identify as like a conservative, but I've got some like left-leaning views on specific topics and stuff like that. And I feel like that's most people, is they fall somewhere in the middle. They lean one way, but they can understand points from like right or left. That's my wife and I are like the same, and like most people I know are like that. It's just some of the crazies that are like so far hard right or so far hard left. They're just the loudest voices.
Yeah, I agree.
Tired of hearing them.
I know, right? Well, it's also clickbaity. Like I see it with this Iran conflict. It's all clickbait. It's clicks. And then sometimes you're just like, dude, this is so far off the rails that you're like, I'm just like, they're like, Iran has failed. It's like day 3. And you're like, dude, we've been whooping ass. Like, you cannot say that this operation is a failure. This operation is highly successful. As of today, is highly successful. Militarily, geopolitically, kind of pretty successful. Now, regionally, that's going to be, time will only tell. That's going to be the big question. But if we walk away, and I think Preston Stewart brought this up today in one of his videos, was like, they might walk away once they kind of elect somebody and go, we won. We won. You know what I mean? Like that, like, we won. If you screw up again, we're coming back. But we won. And that's not wrong. You know what I mean? I mean, how do you wipe out an entire country's leadership, their entire munitions, their missile program, their nuclear program, all of their planes, and how is that not a win? You know what I mean? And by the way,
I guess it depends on the goals from the outset. You can always look at it from the perspective of like the Russia-Ukraine war, where no matter what happens in that, like the Russians are going to claim victory, but their initial goal was the takeover in the entire country of Ukraine. Yeah. Like that's obviously not going to happen. Like at their current rate of advance, a snail would have made it to Kyiv faster than the Russian army. No, literally. A snail in Donetsk would have reached Kyiv like a year ago, and the Russians are 60 kilometers from there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I think for us, there will be some goalpost moving. No matter what, even if the regime doesn't change and like they just have a change of heart, okay, we'll be a little less terroristy, then we'll be like, oh, victory. But I think that's why part of the reason why like the stated goals have not been stated is so no matter how this ends, like it can be portrayed favorably to the American public is part of it. Maybe I'm being a little pessimistic. I don't know. I just.
I don't know. Like pulling a rabbit out of the hat. I think I heard somebody look. I could see it going really badly for the region, and like okay for us, or see it really going okay for everybody and us? Because I mean, you think about
Yeah.
it. Like again, it's the region. Does this really affect us? No, because we'll sink every single boat that Iran tries to block the Strait of Hormuz. So it won't stop us. Is it going to affect the region, as in Turkey, as in Israel, as in Afghanistan? And yeah, it will. And it will. But is that region already kind of jacked up, anyways? Yeah. So, maybe just getting the new guy in charge might help. Yeah, maybe they're a little less. You're right. Maybe that's a less extreme. Maybe they're a lot more friendly to Western allies. I mean, you have to admit, like, the Arab countries uniting over this is a pretty big deal. Hezbollah getting kicked out of Lebanon, it's a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
Like
A destroyed Iranian Navy.
Yeah.
Like, even then, that's a win to me.
Massive win.
Dude, we're never going to hear the end of it from submariners now. Dude, when those guys get back to port flying that kill flag.
Dude, they deserve
first
it.
one since World War II.
Yeah.
I absolutely have to find someone on that sub and interview
Yeah.
them.
I love Trump's response to that. They go, "Why didn't we?" He goes, "They told me they were great ships. Well, why didn't we just capture them? Well, it's a lot more fun to sink them, sir. Well, I guess they are. Like that whole it's just routine of him talking about it, and like, dude, part of me's like, yeah, dude, good for them. Dude, the last 20 years,
Marines are cool.
Yeah.
Think they're a Navy.
The ground guys, we've been getting all the action for the last 80 years. The Navy can get back into the game, and submariners can get their kill.
That whole submarine was like, oh, we can fucking sink it? Like, we're gonna...
Yeah.
Oh, God, bro.
Do you imagine the commander just being like, no,
Fire.
what? Like, what? Yeah, fire, and like, he's like, and I do it again, do it again. And then, the loaders are like, we're doing it again, like.
I never thought I'd do this for real.
I know, right? Like, it's like us being in the infantry. We finally get to shoot our gun, pull the trigger. We're like, we're doing it, yeah. I mean, you can imagine the loaders and
no one's done this in 90 years.
I know, and you're just like, this is it. Even if you're just on the ship as a cook, you're like, we're dead. That was us. That's awesome. I think that's, and like I said, they deserve it. They all deserve it. I think we've been hitting a lot with bombs, aerial bombardment.
Yeah,
but the submarines have got their kills. And then the jokes running around about the F-22 Raptor not getting any kills, but the F-35 is crushing everything, and the F-16s are getting after it. But like I said, we've had the ground game for the last 20 years in the GWAT. The air boys and the submariners can have.
They can have this one.
They can have this one. Yeah, we'll gladly give it to them. But yeah, I agree with you, dude. The fact that 43 ships have been sunk.
Yeah.
You decimate an entire navy. Like, I don't know what they would even use in the Strait of Hormuz. It's over. It's done.
Rowboats.
Yeah, exactly.
Guys with floaties.
Yeah, and that's the thing
sheet
too.
Of plywood.
Well, again, do you remember?
Mines.
When it comes to flexing as a world power, do you remember when the Navy got taken? Like, they were.
Yeah.
By the Iranians.
I was in Bahrain at that time. That was a big fucking deal.
Yeah. And what happened?
Sailors, nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, all these sailors just sitting with their hands on their head. And
yeah.
That was weird. That was weird seeing people in American uniforms surrendering.
Yeah.
I didn't get that same, like, whoa feeling until I saw pictures of Russian soldiers surrendering in Ukraine. Like the first days of that, because it's just, you don't see uniformed people surrendering to anybody like these days.
Yeah. It's wild. It's pretty crazy. Like I said, I'm there's a bit of swelling of pride. You're like, yeah, this is pretty dope. This is awesome. And like I said, and who knows? Like I said, moving forward, like they're hitting targets left and right, and
I don't know where it'll go.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, if it works out for the region, we get a little bit of a warmer Western presence. And I'd love to go to Iran. Been talking about that. I'd love to get back to Afghanistan, but Iran would be phenomenal. Go check it out. Yeah, it'd be pretty sick to go check out. And I think a lot of Iranians would be very happy with that. Even the ones that are hardliners. I mean, your life only gets better in a more pro-Western country. You can't swing around it. You know
No.
what I mean? Like Abu Dhabi and, you know, all the Arabs know, like, when they got hit oil, they're like, we got to be friends with the West because we'll keep some of our value systems. But
Like South Korea is like the best example of that.
oh, yeah.
Like-
Yeah. Exactly. And by the way, it's a great example of why we need to take out their nuclear program. Whether people want to make fun of it or not, and we hit Fordo, you know, a few months ago, and they're like, well, I thought it was destroyed. Well, we probably should go back and double check and maybe double tap everything, because you end up like North Korea, where now they have a bomb. Now we can't do anything, you know, and you have an entire population enslaved to a dictator. And I think that's another annoying thing that people bring up with, like, they're like, oh, this is a protest in favor of the IRGC. And you're like, you realize that there's a lot of these that are held at gunpoint, you know?
Yeah.
Like, do you think everyone, like, oh yeah, they love Kim Jong-un, you know? Like, it's like they
Why do
love
so many
starving
people try
to death.
leave?
Yeah, exactly. Like, and oh, speaking of that, man, dude, it's a great time to be alive. Everything in the Cold War, I mean, like, everybody, like Dulles and all the CIA guys from like the 50s, gotta be just fucking pumping their fists. Speaking of that, of people leaving, Cuba. Did
Yeah.
you see what's coming out of Cuba? Are we gonna see a Cuba turnover?
Dude.
I mean, come on, man. And, like, by the way, that's not out of the question. Like, our Secretary of
Marco Rubio.
Marco Rubio. Rubio is eyeballing Cuba right now, and now they have protests against communists in their own country, and Trump's like, they're next. He literally said, like, yeah, they're next. It's like, what is going on? Like, I don't know, man. Like, the CIA, you know, or the books or the intel books on, dude, in the 2020s is gonna be off the charts, right?
Yeah.
You know, there's so much to write about. But yeah,
The
what's
Cold
your thoughts
War
on Cuba?
is finally coming to an end.
Yes, right, yeah.
And it's like the cherry on top of that for me is just Bradley IFVs firing at T90s.
Yep.
You know, like that was the cherry on top for me. It was like, wow, you're finally doing what you're made for.
Yeah. At first, the first time we ever talked, and you were talking about your buddies were getting, like, you knew guys that were getting javelin kills. I'm like, that's just like, that to me was like, I love it. Like, I love seeing our technology and a bunch of our guys fighting in Ukraine, and it's working.
Yeah,
And the
like,
paper tiger.
I remember meeting a guy in the Marine Corps. I think he was like a master gunnery sergeant in like 2012 at a chow hall, and he was the last Marine with a tank-to-tank kill.
Oh, in like Desert Storm.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I remember being like, wow, that's so cool. And now it's like those guys are everywhere in Ukraine. Like, tons of people have destroyed tanks.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And like I said, the
tankers, artillerymen, infantrymen, drone operators, like any good drone operator has at least a couple tank kills.
and
That's why I don't see them at the front anymore.
yeah, well, I saw in Instagram there was someone in Russia was filming T-55s or something like that on trains, so they're sending them to Ukraine. Clearly, it's a wartime economy, man, but they ain't pumping out tanks. You know, I mean, and also, like, do you want to spend how much money on a tank knowing that it's going to get absolutely shellacked by a $800 FPV drone? Like, they tried it like a few weeks ago again. Didn't they just take out a column like a few weeks back?
They stopped doing. So we saw all those armored columns in specifically like 2023, like all those armored assaults and stuff like that, and that's was the, I hate saying this, but like the golden age of like FPV footage was seeing. What's the word? Like cope cage armor, you know, like where they're just covered in like rubber mats and
they're just trying to figure it out.
Twisted wire, like before
improvised armor.
Before they even started using that, it would just be like a BTR and bunch of trucks and a couple tanks, and they'd all just get schwacked, you know. And we stopped seeing that in 2024 because it's just crazy, ridiculous losses. And then they tried breaking through in Pokrovsk towards the Dobropilia area. It's crazy seeing that because it's like I've driven on those roads, you know, and it's like there's just dead Russians all over the place now. And they started doing a lot of them at like the end of summer. we started seeing a lot more of them, and I think the Russian commander in the area was fired because he was just killing off like his whole army corps.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like Preston reported on it a lot because it was insane. They'd be sending like armored assault after armored assault down like the same two roads, and they would be getting killed like 15 kilometers behind the zero line. You know, they're not even to the front line yet, like the zero line. They're dying in their own area, just getting whacked by drones and artillery. And it's like, it's over. Like armored assaults are done. And then we started seeing a lot of like onesies and twosies sneaking through in the middle of the night till they could accumulate like 30 guys in a basement and they break out from there. But
yeah, there was again a little piece of intel that came through. I don't know how true it was. Apparently it was on Telegram. I don't know, you might have seen it, that Ukraine did not a breakout, but they did an offensive like yesterday. But I don't know how true that is.
Coming out. We usually will see confirmation of that sort of thing a couple days afterwards. Russian mill bloggers are getting a lot more like fatalist about the war. Is that something crazy that I've noticed? They're a lot more like, dude, what are we doing? You know, like it's getting hard to just repeat the state talking points and have anyone believe us. But I know in like the Zaporizhia area, the Ukraine took more land than Russia did for the first time since 2023.
Wow.
Last month. Yeah, which is great news. So like the southern part of the front line is just kind of, I wouldn't say collapsing for the Russians, but it's a lot weaker. And I think that's where this new offensive is starting. Yeah, we'll see in a couple days.
Well, I mean, like I said, if they're weak and their logistics are weak, I mean, Ukraine might see a world where they can get back a bunch more land and hold it, you know, because they've been holding out this long. Now, if they can do the offensive and hold, you know, like I said, logistics is king when it comes to warfare. So it's
it is easier for Ukraine as a whole, I think, to keep their army supplied because it's within their own country. But where the big issues start is the guys at the zero line, you know, keeping them supplied because of the drone density. Like it's so heavy in so many parts. Like you might have seen it, but today, did you ever see that viral picture of that Ukrainian soldier in Bakhmut? He's like standing there eating out of a tin, just covered in mud.
Yeah.
I interviewed him. His name is Sergei Sergienko, and his wife Olena. He was killed on March 7th, which really sucks because I did a lot of fundraising for him and his unit. Got him some armor plates, a new helmet, stuff like that. And it's terrible. He was killed by a drone near Liban, actually. Yeah, just sucks.
Yeah,
he was one I really was like hoping he would like make it through to the end because he and his wife got married like 4 days before he went to Bakhmut. Yeah, and then he got wounded in the trenches there. His like whole back got like riddled with shrapnel. Did another fundraiser for his unit. Like the unit sent me like a certificate of like thanks for like helping out, and it's just terrible what happened to him.
It's that whole, like I said, it's
because of the drone
crazy.
density. You know, like he was not an infantryman anymore. He's like a vehicle mechanic. Just got killed by a drone.
Yeah, man. And that's the thing too, is like, you know, it's $1 million question. How do you counter those? You know, everyone's trying to come up with something. You know, I've seen success with those bullets. I've seen, you know,
so
I just, you know, it'd be interesting to see how they get into those guys. I know logistics is hard for the Ukrainians, so it's like you start seeing them like, why is this pallets of these aren't being delivered for the at least for the transport vehicles?
Speaking of the anti-drone bullets, I got a good buddy of mine who's a drone operator in Gur, and he's always like texting me like updates and stuff, and of like their hits that he's getting. So I get a lot of like behind the scenes stuff that I don't upload of just like the daily drone operator shenanigans, and he sent me a video of them being strafed by an FPV, like an enemy one during infill. And then I was just talking to him about like anti-drone stuff. And he's like a shotgun is like a measure of last resort, you know, like if you have to use that, you're like kind of fucked. Then I was talking about like the anti-drone rounds, and he said they're actually great, but they only have like an effective range of like 50 meters. And after that, they start falling off dramatically. But, you know, it's like...
It's better than nothing.
You got 30 rounds in your magazine instead of 7 rounds in a shotgun, you know? And some dudes are getting
yeah.
crazy good at just shooting them down with their rifles. Like there's a press officer in the 28th Mechanized Brigade. Just he's like the Tom Brady of shooting down drones, man. Like half the videos that he shoots them in, you can't even see them until they explode like a quarter mile away. It looks like.
Well, I think about it too. I mean, if you're, we had one of the battle lab, Jared. He's a former tier 1 operator, and we put the FPV drone up, start chasing him. He shoots it out like like 50 yards out. Like it's pretty impressive. Like you know, he gets lucky shots. Like I think it disconnected the battery cord. Obviously, he didn't plan it that way, but he hit it. You know, and you're like, dude. And then the next guy I was next to him, it's a really cool shot I have, but he uses a shotgun. It takes him to the third shot when it's 5 feet away, and it's a great cinematic shot. But it's like, yeah. So we're dead. Basically, he goes like, it's like the shot's awesome. I can't wait to get my hands on the footage. The next week or so, but yeah, and that's what I was curious about. Like, I know they're trying to develop stuff, and it's, you know, again, it's logistics. I know that's kind of, I don't say you know, Ukraine's kind of weak point, but you know, just everyone always thinks of like, you know,
supplying, but that's both sides. Front point is supplying the zero line troops, and even then, the zero line is not even really the zero line anymore. It's like the zero line is like 10 kilometers wide, just because of the drones. Like, you can't have guys even in trenches anymore.
Yeah, with the drone threat.
Yeah, they're in dugouts. You know, like you're trying to be low key about where they're located, just because the drones are just insane.
That's so wild. That's such a crazy. You know what's crazy about that too is, like, you know, everyone was talking about that, and then we do all this stuff in Iran, and I think a lot of commanders are well, I think they're also quickly to forget it now. I think you're going to see a drop off in UAV interest after we've just bombed Iran. You know what I mean? Like, it's just that mentality of like, yeah, we don't need. What are you talking about? You know, we don't need that technology, and I'm sure it's still going to be pushing. I mean, you know, Hegseth and them want to develop this stuff, but I still feel like the Iran push is like, oh yeah, of course our F-35s and our Tomahawks, and this is the dominant. And you're like, no man, drones are still, when it comes to the ground game, you still need to be integrating these.
When the war in Ukraine is over, I would love to see like a brigade size force on force of Americans versus like experienced Ukrainians, and just see like because the Ukrainians now are like masters of concealing themselves. You know, like Tomahawks are great, but they're only great if you can hit something, you know. So it's like,
and by the way, those trenches, man,
it'd be
corner, you know,
it'd be so interesting to see, like, not necessarily who comes out on top, but like whose methods are more effective. You know, even just like an infantry squad.
That's true. Well, you know, it depends on how well they're trained in tactics, though, too. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, our tactics are still pretty sound.
Yeah, it depends on the unit, too, in Ukraine. You got some really, like, not so great conscript units. And you've got, like Azov's 3rd Assault Brigade, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think it depends on who you're talking about.
And, you're trench fighting. I don't think any American units are coming out on top of, like, equivalent skill level, like tiers and stuff.
Yeah. All right, bro. Well, we reached an hour here. Let's switch over to the Patreon and Spotify subscriptions. Go check those out on Into the Breach on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, and go check out the Patreon for Into the Breach. Also, Vet TV. So these episodes will be going on Vet TV. So go on, subscribe to Vet TV, get this content, as well as a bunch of awesome shows, including ones I directed, which is Battle Lab, which is a new series that are coming out about every 2 to 3 months, and Embed Actual, which is our foray into Ukraine to talk with 3rd Assault and the guys on the front line in Izium. So check all that out. Go check out Nick over at Battles and Beers on YouTube, on Instagram, and anywhere else?
Facebook, too.
Facebook
is more of like a shit posting, like, but
yeah. So go check those out, and then so if you want to continue to listen, go subscribe, go check out all those channels. Supporting the channel would be great. We're setting all that kind of stuff up. I got to set up the buy me a coffee option here soon, and whatnot, or subscribe and support the channel. So thank you for listening and switching over.